Hi, everybody. I'm Kara Fleischer, Creation Care Task Team Chair for the Florida Conference of the United Methodist Church. And welcome to Eat, Pray, Grow for June. We are very excited to talk about our solar Sanctuaries Advocacy resolution that just passed at annual conference by 74%. Woo-hoo! It was a great effort and also a really good opportunity for us to help raise awareness about solar and what we want to try to accomplish with advocacy so we can get it easier, and also to learn how we could even go about getting it now, as our special guest, Reverend Andy Oliver, will tell us a little bit later. So without further ado, I'm going to continue to just admit people from the waiting room, and I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. All right. So we always start with an opening prayer with Elon Brown. So Elon, I'd love for you to start us off.
Thank you. And I wanted to mention that the artwork here is from Reverend Jan. She's a pastor within our conference, and it's called Mother Root is the artwork that you see. So you can focus on that or just close your eyes. Let us bow our heads in prayer and lift our hearts to heaven from where our help comes from. God, you so love the cosmos and all your creation. You sent us your only begotten Son, Jesus, to redeem us and to save us from our darkness. Creator God, your first commandment to Adam was to cultivate the garden that you made very good and beautiful for all creation to flourish. You created us from the earth of your sacred garden. You provided for our sustenance, and you commanded us, cultivate it, keep it flourishing. Lord God, creator of all things great and small, in your mercy, forgive us for the harms that we have inflicted upon your blessed creation. As the Florida United Methodist Creation Care Task Team, we pray that our churches will be encouraged and edified today, and all of our monthly Eat, Pray, Grow training networking sessions to go forth to create creation care ministries in their local churches and their communities so that we may minimize our harm against your earth and heal what you have made sacred. Help us, Lord, to place a high priority on creation care practices for all areas of ministry and mission in our local churches so that we may conserve and preserve to bless and keep our neighbors in a time of creation crisis. We, as the people of the United Methodist Church, are called to be shepherds and heirs of God's good creation. Lord, we ask that you light our path. Show us the way to be faithful stewards of your earthly kingdom, for this all belongs to you. We aspire, Jesus, as your children, to be faithful stewards of your garden, blessed with these gifts to bless our neighbors, the poor, and those yet to be born. Let our minds and our hearts be open widely today and the days forward to receive all that you might have us learn in our Solar Sanctuaries Advocacy Resolution session, so that we might embody a people that bring life and not death to the voiceless among us. Father, let us never forget that you are the divine master gardener. In Jesus' precious name, we lift this up to you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Elon, so much for that wonderful opening prayer. And I just want to welcome a lot of people I've admitted in the last couple of minutes to the meeting. You found Eat, Pray, Grow for June, so we're really glad that you're with us. Go back to sharing the screen now. Okay, so we'd like to just hit on our mission statement for our Creation Care Task Team. We are here to help equip you, the local church, with encouragement, training, and tools to support a thriving creation care ministry and to live into the call of being good stewards of creation, loving our neighbors and helping those in need by dedicating our time, talents, and gifts to advocating for the earth. And we are broken up into districts, just like the conference is. And we have a leader for about every district. So we encourage you to find your area in your district and see who your district leader is. This is your person who can help you get access to all the tools and content that we've created for Creation Care Ministry, to come speak with you, to look at your grounds, to do presentations at your church, you name it, we're here to try to help. And we are looking for a couple of other new task team members, which are starred. So in the East Central District, in the Gulf Central, and the Southeast, those are 3 areas that we would like to get some new folks involved. So if you could just get in touch with me at caresforcreation@gmail.com, we'd love to talk more about that. So I wanted to start off by just praising this wonderful retreat that we had on the Rainbow River at the beginning of June. We had one of our task team members, Sarah Nussel, who's at the top with the Eco Gal shirt on. She rents this home on the Rainbow River every year for her family over Memorial Day. But during the week, no one's there. The kids are mostly there on the weekends. So she opened it up to our task team to come have a wonderful retreat. And so we had time of fellowship, of planning for the year, and also some fun. So I just am showing a couple projects here. Sarah Flint taught us how to make products with essential oils. So here we're making a fabric spray, and Sarah Nussel made homemade deodorant, and Alon Brown brought us on a wonderful journey of making bread silently together. And then we baked it and used it for the sacraments down at the river. So it was really a great time for us to bond together and learn and grow in our faith and kayak on this gorgeous spring-fed river. It was really a great time. So much love and thanks to the team, and just to show you that we have fun too. So we'd love to encourage more of you to get involved with our team. Okay, so we're going to focus on solar today, and a big part of that is we passed our resolution that we read at annual conference, and it was quite a process to get this resolution. You don't just kind of write something on a napkin and hand it over. Alon Brown worked to write this resolution months ago, and then our team edited it and worked with it and prayed over it, and we got it passed by 74%. So I thought I would show the video from that day, and just portions of it. The whole process was at least almost 20 minutes. So I'm just going to show the video of Alon and I and Andy, so we don't have to repeat a lot of information. And then we'll go to Andy to hear more about the experience of actually having solar on his church. And we can ask him some questions about that, because I'm sure we all would like to know how to do that at our own church. So I'm just going to flip over to the video here. Just a moment. Okay. Thank you for your patience as I'm messing with technology. All right, there we go. We'll start off with myself and Elon, and then we actually did have 2 people speak in opposition, and I really don't want to spend the 20 minutes showing the whole section, but if you're interested to hear what the opposition is, it was pretty much basic climate denial positions, but you can go to the FLUMC website and pull up these sessions yourself and watch all of them if you've missed annual conference. Here we go.
This resolution is called Solar Sanctuaries, Advocacy, and it will be spoken to first by Kara Fleisch.
Uh-oh. Is everybody hearing that? It's like I lost connection for a minute there.
This afternoon, just to let you know what's ahead, we will seek to care with a couple of resolutions.
First by Kara Fleischer and then by Elon Brown.
Hi, I'm Kara Fleischer, Creation Care Task Team Chair and Commissioned Earthkeeper from St. Paul's in the Northwest District. I represent the growing number of Creation Care ministries in our conference who are working to protect God's creation. Psalms reminds us that the earth belongs to God. Everything in all the world is His. In Florida, we are blessed with sunshine, beautiful beaches, and vast biodiversity, but we live under the constant threat of devastating climate impacts. Our state is ground zero for sea level rise that threatens to displace millions of us who live on the coast. Extreme weather events like catastrophic hurricanes, droughts, floods, and heat waves cause suffering, homelessness, and even death. And the marginalized suffer the most, even though they contribute the least to the problem. This April, 11 agencies of the United Methodist Church, including Westpath, Global Ministries, and United Methodist Men and Women, made a bold climate commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. I encourage you to read the entire pledge on the UMC website. Our Solar Sanctuaries Advocacy Resolution follows their lead by encouraging churches in our conference to advocate for solar energy. United Methodist churches across the Sunshine State can stand together, unified in our desire to make solar energy affordable and accessible for every church, so we can save money on our utilities while protecting creation. I'd like to ask former Task Team Chair Elon Brown to explain more about the resolution.
Thank you, Kara and Bishop Carter. As a devout follower of Jesus Christ, a GM Earthkeeper, and now your Southwest District representative and primary author of our Creation Care resolutions, we, the Creation Care Task Team, encourage you today to love as God loves. We encourage you today to deeply care for the integrity of all creation. We encourage you today to prioritize care for the healing and wholeness of all life. God weeps at energy systems that plunder Earth's goodness, and so shall we. The UMC has long affirmed our individual and collective responsibility to address the unfolding climate crisis. Our human behavior is the root cause. Our energy consumption upstream as church harms those downstream of us, and loving our neighbor extends to all creation. We are called by faith. We are biblically commanded to shepherd God's blessed earth, informed by science, to collectively work towards solutions which lowers our church's electric bills and eliminates our carbon emissions, which exacerbate climate change. For example,
15 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, we could advocate for power purchase agreements that are legal in many states but not yet allowed in Florida. These agreements could provide solar for every church with no upfront costs and lower monthly electric bills from day one. On behalf of our Creation Care Task Team, we prayerfully ask that our conference move towards a more sustainable 21st century church by voting yes on Solar Sanctuaries Advocacy Resolution today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Alon and I, and I'm going to forward over to Andy's closing statements, who did a beautiful job closing us out. And like I said, I encourage you to go to the FLUMC website and look at the annual conference recordings if you'd like to see the entire process. It was lengthy and we don't have time to show it all right now, but I'm going to jump over to where Andy started speaking.
Thank you, Bishop. My congregation has been blessed with a solar champion named Charlie Radigan, who worked for a decade to get solar panels on our church roof, which finally happened in December of 2020. We partnered with Axiom, a solar company in Tampa. The owner attends Hyde Park United Methodist Church. We went with a lease. They pay for the installation, the maintenance. We pay a monthly payment capped at 80% of our average energy bill from last year. At the end of 5 years or 20 years, we have the option to buy back the panels. Most of our payments thus far have come from community groups who use our space and who wish to offset their own carbon footprint. We went from paying $20,000 a year to Duke to our community funding our solar panels. That's $20,000 we now get to put toward ministry. Here are some results. Over the next 20 years, we'll save over $400,000 in energy costs. Currently, we are producing all of our energy costs by the sun and putting extra back into the grid. We will offset 40 tons of coal and 75 metric tons of carbon dioxide this year. That's the equivalent of planting 2,000 trees. Or if we had driven a car for 175,000 miles this year. Here's perhaps the best part. About 1 in 10 new people who come to Allendale have said that they came to be part of a church that takes care of the environment. Solar panels are evangelism. Charlie's passion for creation care has transformed our church and brought new people to the liberation of Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God.
Okay. I hope that came in clear. You all could hear it. That was just the intro and the closing statements for the resolution that we passed at annual conference. Like I said, there were 2 speeches against and another speech for. Welcome you guys to go check out the entire thing. But we were just so encouraged by Reverend Oliver's words that solar has been bringing people closer to Jesus. And I can tell you that we see that with our creation care ministry. Our garden does that. And it's been a dream of ours to have solar, but honestly, with budgets being so tight, we just haven't been able to even go there. But that's why we've been advocating, why we did advocate a couple of months ago during session for the PPA bill, which would have allowed a third party to put solar on church roofs, and we wouldn't have to pay for the equipment. We would just pay them, and they would get access to the federal rebate. That is not legal in Florida. It is another state. So we'll be back at that next session. But I just wanted to let you know that this resolution isn't mandating that all churches have to get solar, obviously. It is to start the conversation. It's to let churches know that it's a possibility, that if we advocate as creation care teams with our leaders, we can have it be a goal and get it on the radar. And we could also advocate with our legislature, like we've been led by our own creation care advocacy team here and also through UMW, and Edith is here to talk to us about another advocating opportunity even a little later. So, all right, as now I'd like to turn it over to Reverend Oliver just to get some thoughts from him on the solar that's at his church and maybe advice on how we could replicate it at our own, because certainly it sounds like they've got a great thing going there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for doing the work to get this resolution through. It's really, really important. So I mentioned in the speech, having a champion at the church was really important. Charlie is has been chair of our trustees and has been pushing for solar for a long time, and did all the legwork along with a few others to explore different options. So in our city, we had a local person who wanted, one option was to go through a local person who was going to front the cost for solar panels, and then we would pay him back. We ended up going with a company called Axiom, which actually owns the solar panels, and we lease the panels from them. They benefit from the tax benefit. They're able to get a tax benefit even having them on our church because it's a lease arrangement. And then we have the option to buy out the panels in 5 to 10 years. And as I mentioned, the amount of the lease was capped at 80% of our Duke bill from last year, or from the last full year that we had. And so our energy costs are going to stay flat. If you're a finance person, we are able also to move that money to a capital expense. So that freed up all this revenue for our budget for programming. And then also, as I mentioned, community groups that use our space, a lot of them, we opened up our church to anyone that was doing the work of social justice, had free meeting space. And so the League of Women Voters, groups like Dream Defenders or other groups that are working for like voting rights, things that align with our values. A lot of them organize out of our church. A lot of those people also care about the environment and about creation. And so we found that before, when we were renting space to people, we got a few $1,000s, but when we gave it away for free, we've been getting 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. It's been growing. And it's been, that money goes back into our buildings and our programming, and specifically into this green initiative, so that when they meet, they can offset their carbon footprint by contributing to the solar power that's being created. So it's been a really great thing that we've benefited from. I mentioned the speech that it has brought people to the church as they learn that we have solar. They want to be part of a church that is taking this seriously, when so many churches are sadly kind of repeating talking points from the other perspective on this. So I think in each of your contexts, there's probably 3, 4, 5 different options of how to go about solar. I know one option we looked at too, our League of Women Voters here in Pinellas have a co-op that they started, a solar co-op, and we were looking at getting in on the co-op also. The biggest barrier to a church getting involved with solar is that there's no tax benefit because you're not paying property taxes. So finding creative ways around that so that it makes it affordable is really the trick. I'll pause there and see if there are any questions or where people want to take the conversation.
Excellent. Great. Yeah, thank you. Well, when you talked about leasing it from Axiom, I'm just wondering how we could duplicate something like that around the state. I don't know if we have to find a private solar installer. Is that basically what Axiom is?
So Axiom handles all that. So the beautiful thing about Axiom is they do all the work to calculate how much you need. They did all the work to get the permits. They did all the installation. They do all the maintenance as long as we're leasing. The only money we pay is the monthly lease. And that monthly lease price payment didn't start until everything was turned on. So we literally went from, paying $1,000, a couple thousand a month, to having our Duke bill capped at a specific rate that was 80% less than what we had been spending. Even though Duke rates keep going up, we're staying flat. And that's paying the lease off our payment and off the panels. So.
Okay. And so if there's a lease, they are able to access the rebates from the federal government. Is that what's different than the PPA?
They are able to benefit from the tax benefit, yes.
Okay.
And that is, we had our legal look at it because we had a couple people think that this maybe didn't sound like it was on the up and up, and we got a green light from multiple legal sources. Axiom is a company out of Tampa. The owner attends Hyde Park United Methodist Church. So we felt really good about going with them. And so far, it's been a really good thing.
That's great. We've been talking about solar for a year now, kind of in this group, in this setting. And we're really focusing on this PPA legislation, which would allow, third parties to buy the equipment and put it on the roof. And that way they could get the tax credit. But this seems like this might be a way around it to be able to lease, to have a company that would do it for a lease.
The PPA might be a better option. I'm not a financial person, so you'd really want to get some wise people that could look at it from a financial point of view. The thing that we didn't have to worry about was, again, permitting, installing, maintenance. So you'd have to somehow factor those costs in to really do a cost benefit analysis to see what's best.
Yeah. Well, with the legislature that we have, PPAs are like a dream, but may not be a reality for a very long time. So makes me wonder if this isn't a direction we should go. I see that Edith has a question. Edith, go ahead.
Axiom available statewide?
Is Axiom available statewide? I believe so. If you Google Axiom Solar, I don't have the contact on me right here, but if you Google and reach out, you know, I'm sure. Let me actually ask my admin and see if she can send me over the contact we have for them. I can just put that in the chat.
Excellent.
Kara,
Yes.
I have a question just for clarification.
Yes.
Earlier, I heard it state, this is Carrie Foote, I'm sorry. Earlier, I
Sure.
heard it stated that when signing the lease, your payment for the electricity was going to be 80% of what it was last year at the same time.
Right.
But a while ago, you just said that you're paying 80% less than what you were last year. Do you mean 20%?
Sorry, 20% less. I misspoke. So
Okay.
they basically, you know, it was the year before COVID. They looked at our energy costs, the average energy costs. They capped our lease payment at 80% of that bill.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you for
great.
the clarification.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you didn't have to pay for the equipment.
Right.
Okay, so we have a question from Mary, who says, how is the power stored? What about peak time use? Are there surges? What about hurricane wind loads? Few questions.
So yes, good question. So obviously with permitting, they take all the hurricane stuff into account. Also, we did, of course, let insurance know. Our insurance with the conference went up a tiny bit. It was, you know, hardly anything. We actually wrote in our contract, I think that they're actually, while we're leasing, they're covering the costs of the insurance increase too. So we put that in, added that in there. If there is any damage with hurricanes or storms, they're responsible for it while we're leasing. We even put in there that if we have to re-roof our building, that they will cover those costs too while we're, so we try to think of anything that might come up. As far as how's the power stored, we don't have any, other people might have other opinions, but from the research we did, it wasn't beneficial to us to purchase any batteries at this point. It may be beneficial in a year or two as technology continues to get better. Right now, we're putting more power back into the grid, and then we know there will be times, especially now that we're in the rainy season and it's been cloudy a lot, where we'll be pulling stuff back. Duke keeps those credits for a year. At the end of the year, they disappear though, and they buy back the energy you made, you know, pennies on the dollar. It's not a way to really make money. So the goal is to get as close to 100% as possible as far as the energy that you're creating. That's how they determine how many panels you need. They also, in Florida, you are not allowed to, it has to be disconnected from the system when the power is shut down. So if there's a hurricane and if we lose power in Florida, the system has to shut down too, which is unfortunate. We could be making energy even though, you know, the power lines are down, but they do that right now. The technology doesn't, they're worried about the power going back on the lines and hurting the workers is why they have that shut off. I'm sure technology is gonna fix that problem too eventually.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that'd be nice if you could just disconnect from the grid and just use your own power when, you know, when you're able to. But
it would be nice.
yeah.
I think Governor Scott passed something about that limits your ability to do that.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I think
it
so
was
too.
influenced by our friends at Duke. So
Yes. Yep. It hasn't been easy, but it sounds like you guys are making it work. And it's great that you don't have to worry about if you don't have energy, you can just, you're still on the grid. So it'll just seamlessly switch over.
right.
That's excellent. Let's see. Sharon Ladner had a comment. Sharon, do you want to share that with the group? You have
we have solar at our homes, and we accessed it and paid for it through a co-op that was started by a solar advocacy organization in Miami-Dade County. And actually it was available to all the areas in Miami-Dade County. And the benefit there was that we went through a single solar provider, which we voted on who we were going to go with, and that reduced the cost. But the relationship that you have with Axiom and Duke, it seems to be the same relationship that we as homeowners have with Florida Power and Light, in that if we're using solar, if we're using FPL because it's cloudy or rainy, then we're paying. And if it's sunny and bright, we are basically getting credits for that power that we are then returning to FPL. And right now we pay about $100 a month for electricity. And that's down from $400 a month. So we're quite happy with it.
Excellent. Now, did you get your system for free as well through the
No,
co-op?
we had to pay for it. We paid out of our own investments, so we paid up front, but they did have the ability to pay monthly, you know, charging it on a monthly basis.
Rolling it in. Okay.
Rolling it
Very
over, yeah.
good. Very good. Very good.
And I don't think it was available to nonprofit organizations. It was only available to individuals. So, because I had asked about whether our church could tap into it, and they said they didn't think so. But that
Okay.
was 3 years ago. I don't know, things may be different.
It's still pretty similar. A lot of the programs that are available for homeowners are not available for nonprofits. That's really what pushed us toward Axiom.
Excellent. Well, I think that I'll be making a call to Axiom just to check in with them and see what their availability is, because truly we've been kind of hanging a lot of hopes on this PPA, but it was really seemed to be far in the future, if ever. So this sounds like something that we might be able to, have a sooner goal, because it's still going to take some work to get our churches on board. Could you maybe tell us a little more about your champion and like the process that Charlie had to go through in your own church to make this a reality?
Yeah, I mean, Charlie had been having these conversations for a long time. Really, we had no hurdles as far as anyone being against the idea. Once Charlie was able to show financially that it made sense, everyone was on board with the general idea. I know not all churches are blessed with similar thought around the environment and creation care. But that's not one battle that we had to fight. Everyone was on board. And really that was because of the legacy of the United Methodist women had really left this church. When I arrived, when I got to Allendale 6 years ago, it wasn't particularly progressive or, it was your average, really hadn't talked about a lot of social issues kind of church, a bell curve of different perspectives. And it was about to close. We were months away from closing. And I had been told by the bishop that it was my last chance. And so we had nothing to lose. And we just went for it and said we were going to be a church that was going to be inclusive and one that cared about the intersections of different justice issues, including creation care. So as part of this effort, there was another champion in the church that has championed gardens, and we've now almost covered half our property in gardens and put in Florida native plants and done that work. And so now with this, the gardening, the solar panels, we are going to put in energy efficient windows next. And we're doing a capital campaign that's going to be, Allendale's Green New Deal. Allendale, and so a green capital campaign, because a lot of our community groups, again, that participate are going to be the primary ones that pay into this capital fund. I probably don't need to tell anyone here that if you can have members of the community be paying into your church, it's beneficial for everyone. And this is something they're excited. A lot of these people that are in our community that are a part of these different justice organizations, many of them gave up on church being a carrier of justice 20, 30 years ago. A lot of them don't have a church that they are writing checks to. And so now that Allendale has become their space to do justice work, they feel like it's natural and they have ownership and want to give. And this is something that really aligns with their values. So we're looking at in the next year, putting it all new energy efficient windows, continuing to build up the fund to pay off the solar, all through this cooperative relationship with the community.
Wow, that is really inspiring. Alon has a question.
Oh my gosh, when can we come and visit you and go on a field trip? Oh my gosh, Andy, when can we come see you?
Yeah,
my first question is, how is it working? How is your solar system going? It's been what, a year now?
Yeah, so I had a lot of statistics in the, there's so many different ways to measure how it's going. We've had the biggest problem we had was getting the tree pollen off the panels, which we just had to learn how to clean them. Because when the pollen came, the energy production went way down, but we were able to figure that out pretty quickly. Some of the stats that I pulled from a report Charlie pulled together, that we have offset 40 tons of coal, 75 metric tons of carbon dioxide just this year. So that's from January. And that's the equivalent of planting 2,000 trees, or actually it's a full year. So a full year, 2,000 trees or 175,000 miles driven in a car. That helps people wrap their brain around it. And so talking about that in worship, to helping people understand, again, connecting our connection to creation. And, for some people, they're going to really connect to it through the money we've saved, okay? Because that's the way their brain works. And some people, the number of trees that we would have equivalently planted that takes the carbon dioxide out of the air, or the number of miles driven on a car. We try to explain it a lot of different ways for people to wrap their brain around. But again, as I said in the speech, about 1 in 10 people have said they're joining Allendale because of our commitment to creation care. And so that's significant. Again, if you're a dollars and cents person, which is not why we're doing this, but if you are, or if you have people, sometimes you have people in your church you need to convince of some things. If we have that averages out to about 12 families a year joining our church because of our commitment to creation care. You add those pledges up, right? For some people, they need to see that, okay? Because they only equate a commitment to solar or a commitment to creation care as an expense they can't afford. But over and over again, we found that when we open ourselves up and we give, God provides and we get a lot more in return.
That's fantastic. We have just a few minutes left, and I see a couple more questions here. It looks like it's about the panels themselves. What will be the cost to purchase the panels in 5 to 10 years? And does the lease lead to ownership?
Yes, the lease does lead to ownership. We can keep leasing as long as we want. The buyout option is in 5 years and 10 years. And I do not have that number in front of me. I have it somewhere in my email. So let me just come back to that.
Well, that's okay. You can tell me and then I can share it with the group. I do a follow-up email.
If I can find that number of what that number is, what we are doing is taking that buyout number. I don't know what it is. Let's just say it's $50,000 or something like that. We're taking that and kind of mentally putting that in a monthly, putting that out monthly, so that we want to raise from the community or for this solar energy stuff from our capital fund enough that we're putting a little bit each month, so that when we get to year 5, we have the money to buy the panels out.
And is there a reason that you would rather own than just continue leasing, since it's less than your
money?
It'll just save even more money.
It saves us more money to own.
Okay.
I mean, the other costs we will have is maintenance or, all the things that they're taking care of. But really, cost benefit analysis is sooner we can own them, the better for us. Because when we own them, obviously we won't be paying the, $1,000 a month, or whatever our lease payment is.
It'll go away.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, just a couple more. We have one from Mary that says, how much has your church grown? What was the membership at the beginning of your assignment versus now?
When I got there in January, in December, they averaged 40 people. In its heyday in 1968, Allendale was worshiping 700. Okay. So they had been on a consistent downward trend. When Elise DeGrenia was here, they grew a little bit. And then after Elise left, they had a few clergy that didn't really want to be here. So they declined to 40 people who were holding on. Now, pre-pandemic, we were close to 200 people in worship. And now coming back out of the pandemic, we are having about 100 people, and a lot of people, of course, staying online. We grew by a ton of people. I don't know if y'all are experiencing this in your churches, but we're having more visitors than we are having regular people at this point. And a lot of those visitors were people that were worshiping with us online that wouldn't have otherwise found us. So we're in a weird time, just like all of you are in your churches.
Yeah, well, congratulations. That's a huge turnaround. We have one more question about how long will the panels last? Is that the question, Sarah Nussel?
That is a great question that Charlie has talked about, and I don't remember I can get that answer to you as well.
Okay.
Technology is improving every couple months, they're finding better ways to do this and getting longer use out of the panels. I want to say in my head, I remember him saying, obviously there's some diminishing return after a time, but I remember him saying this is like a 50-year thing, 40-year thing. But honestly, I don't.
That's okay.
Don't remember.
Yeah, a lot of those things don't stay in my head either. Well, we could talk to you for hours. This is a topic that's so inspiring to us and something that's like the ultimate goal for a lot of us. So thank you so much for sharing and giving us this insight so we can, really possibly make this work for our churches. Last thing, we'd just love to invite someone from Allendale to join our Creation Care monthly meeting, and we'd love to learn more about what you all are doing. I don't know if you have an official ministry, but it sounds like you do a ton of stuff under the umbrella. So we'd just love to connect with someone there that you think would be the leader, if it's Charlie or someone else.
I will invite Charlie. He might invite someone else, but we'll see. We'll definitely get someone on the team. And I can also give you some recommendations in Gulf Central who would be good. And
Okay,
I do really think that, it's important that all of a lot of our progressive organizing space, our space in St. Pete, so much of it is still very, either white or black. And I would like to recommend a few people of color from my district that might really be interested in being a part of that, because I think when you have everyone around the table, then it helps everyone participate better.
Absolutely.
Please.
That's a big emphasis of ours as well, as racial justice, and we're working on that. You wouldn't know from this call though. So thank you.
Same thing here. We're working, fighting the same battles. So
Yep. Excellent. Well, everyone join me in thanking Reverend Andy for being with us. So wonderful, and just so grateful for your vision and all the work that you do. All right, we will unfortunately have to hop back to our presentation.
Kara and Andy, we're serious. When can we come visit you?
Anytime. Anytime you want to come, we'll happily host. So
great. Thank you.
Field trip.
Yes.
Not a bad place to visit. Love St. Pete. Okay, excellent. All right, well, that gives me a lot of hope that maybe we don't have to wait for the legislature, I tell you. All right, we did the Q&A. All right, now it's time for Edith. She's going to explain to us what the Women of Florida's Advocacy Day is. That's happening today. And Edith, I think what I would like is just for you to explain this and then people could click the link and go back to it after our meeting is over, because they won't be able to do it during our meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes, quite.
Okay, great.
I have also put it in the chat. Today is the day the Lord has made, and it is the United Methodist Women's second Legislative Advocacy Day. And you all are invited to participate, and it is easy. I did it in 5 minutes, and afterwards, Elizabeth Chun-Hei Lee sent me a letter saying thank you, but all you need to do is go to the link that's provided in the chat. It's the Phone to Action, P2A is what it stands for. And it is through United Methodist Women. And if you want to make me co-host, I'll show you what it looks like. But you fill out the personal information, and once you fill out the personal information, you click the little red button, and it takes you to actually the first thing you hear is a phone call coming in on your phone, and they give you a brief rundown on what it's all about, and then they connect you to a legislator's office. So you have your own legislators, the 2 senators, Rick Scott and Marco Rubio, and then your district House member. And the thing is, when you have to remember, when you get on the phone and you talk to the machine and leave your message, or when you talk to the staffer, don't hang up, because then it will take you to the next one. And I know I get nervous and hang up, but and it gives you the script on the screen. So all you have to do is read it. You fill in your name, you fill in the senator's name or the representative's name, but it is easy and it is significant. On our first Legislative Advocacy Day, we contributed to 4 relief bills that passed, and it was phenomenally successful. Hundreds of United Methodist women participated in actual Zoom meetings across the country, but only certain states are doing the actual Zoom meetings. And in Florida, we are asking for telephone calls. So I hope that you and all your friends and neighbors and relatives will call that phone to action link that's in the chat, copy it, keep it, and when you get finished doing all this stuff, it gives you the option to post it on Facebook. And then it's just a well organized for mission activity by United Methodist Women. And I am so proud to be one. So thank you for letting me share.
Can you tell us what the topic is that we're advocating for?
We are advocating for climate justice measures to be included in the infrastructure. And so that's a very timely topic. And it is, this, on the screen is what phone to action looks like. And that's where you fill in all the information, and then you hit this and it just walks you right through it. So hope you all will join in. We look forward to more legislative days as they come needed.
Thank you, Edith. Well, this is timely because I just heard that, with the negotiations going on for the infrastructure bill, they're cutting out the climate parts to lower the price. So this is really critical for our voices to be heard, that we want them to keep that climate, action in there. That's what our leaders need to hear. So just to make sure I understand, you use the screen and then you give them the phone number and then it will call your phone. Wow, using 2 technologies at once. How about that? That's great. That makes it easy. All right, well, thank you. And thank you to UMW for all you do to be climate justice advocates. I tell you, we always go towards the UMW women because they know so much about climate justice and have done such a great job kind of paving the way for Creation Care Ministries. So thank you, thank you.
We thank Kara for being a part of our Mission U. She did a 30-minute video that talked about climate justice and racial justice through climate action, and it was so well received. Kara, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. It really was. Okay, wonderful. Let's go hop back to our presentation. Okay, So the next thing we have is our green product finds, and I would like to ask Sarah, the Sarahs. Sarah Flint put this together. Sarah Nussel might have some things to say too. So Sarah, you're on.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kara, and belated happy summer solstice to everybody. And if you hear background noise up here, we have a huge rainstorm going on. So I hope that I don't get cut off or anything like that. But while the sun is absolutely fantastic for clean energy, we all know that we also need protection from it so we don't get overexposed. And before I even get into sunscreens, I just wanted to remind everybody we can even reduce our use if we're careful about wearing the appropriate clothing. Certainly the surfing community has taught us that you can even buy long sleeve shirts and hats and everything you can even wear in the water. So there's plenty of that readily available so you can reduce your sunscreen use. Avoiding being outside at noontime. Avoid being outside from 10 to 3 when you can, when the sun is at its highest position. Find or make shade when you're outside. Using sunglasses is also super important for protecting your eyes. It doesn't have as much to do with the sunscreen products, but just a good reminder. And just checking the UV index in your area when you're about to go outside, because it's those ultraviolet radiation rays that really harm us. But when we can't do those other measures I just mentioned, we do resort to sunscreens. And I'm not sure if even all of you are aware, because I only became aware maybe 3 years ago of how toxic so many of the readily available sunscreens are to our own bodies, but also to the environment. We have a very serious problem with bleaching and death of the coral reefs in our oceans because of chemicals like oxybenzone and octinoxate. And of course, the coral reefs are the supermarket of the whole ecosystem. So they're so important for the health of the oceans to keep healthy. I did provide a few resources for you to use. I don't think I can really get into everything in depth here on this phone call, but there are some wonderful resources for learning more about your sunscreens. One is the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org. That is a great starting place. They have a full sunscreen guide that you can download, and they'll give you a lot of good information on the things to look for and the good products that they've looked at. And then SaveTheReef.org has some great information about environmental impact. And from there, I linked to this Hereticuslab.org site, and that's where they actually do a lot of the testing of the sunscreens. And they have an index called the HELL Index. They've created the HELL list, which stands for Hereticus Lab. But you want to avoid certain chemicals in your sunscreens. You want to avoid those microplastic beads and any nanoparticles. So even your safe ingredients like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are really safe ingredients for sunscreen. Suddenly they're not safe if they're turned into a nanoparticle, which means if they're powderized for a spray product, all of a sudden they're not so great anymore. So that is actually one of the big tips, is just in general avoiding the sprays. There really isn't a good safe spray out there because you're breathing in that and it's landing on the ground, and the creatures that are on the ground are then exposed to your chemicals as well. And you may think too, well, I'll just use that cheap no-ad stuff if I'm not going near the ocean. But eventually you're taking a shower, it's going to wash off of you and go into the water system and make its way into the ocean eventually. So it is really important to try to spend that little extra if you can on the better sunscreen products. So avoid the harmful chemicals and look for the zinc oxide is really the best tip I can give you. And also watch out for greenwashing, because I can tell you that Sunbum is one that fooled me recently. I've got a can of it here. Okay, first of all, it's spray, which it shouldn't be. But it says paraben-free, gluten-free, vegan, hypoallergenic, oxybenzone-free, retinol palmitate-free. You think you're getting something good, and then the next thing you read is the active ingredients are all on that HELL list. So watch out for the greenwashing on your sunscreen products. Let's see, there was another thing I was going to say about that. Now it's slipping my mind, but we do definitely have to watch out for these things. But these slides do show you some of the better options. And don't forget to pay attention to packaging too, because so many of them come in single-use plastics. If you can avoid that, that's always a great thing. And then a lot of the very common sunscreens we use, unfortunately, are in the no, not good category.
You're right. Mine is there. I use the Neutrogena for my face. That's so disappointing. Oh my goodness. Well, hey,
Neutrogena actually has been one of the product lines, unfortunately, that has surprised me, that when I look at Environmental Working Group, it's often listed as not one of the better ones, and where you would really think that it would be one of your better product lines. And the retinol products are listed as an ingredient that can lead to tumors and lesions on your skin. And you see retinol touted everywhere as your great anti-wrinkle product. I know so many of us probably have retinols in our skincare products. So watch out for that if you can.
Yeah, I see Sarah asked if any come in non-plastic containers, and I saw a couple of these on the good list were in metal containers. So down here at the bottom, it looks like a couple of these are. So there's so many things to look for. You know, of course, we need to protect our skin and the skin of our family.
Yes.
We want to avoid plastic. And, you know, I really didn't think about the fact that I have my Ocean Safe and I have my regular. And I use the Ocean Safe, obviously I'm going to the beach, but then I use the regular all the other time because it's cheaper and I like the way it feels on my skin and whatever. But what you're saying is it could wash off and go into the water supply, and that's just as harmful. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, good to know. Hey, thank you so much.
You're
Excellent.
welcome.
Excellent work. All right, well, now we have time for announcements. Does anyone have any announcements they would like to share? Any celebrations? I just wanted to celebrate. We gave 92 pounds of tomatoes to the food bank on Saturday that we grew in our creation care garden at St. Paul's. And it's all organic. We don't use any chemicals. And so it was just such a joy to be able to do that. And let's see, does everyone else hear audio? Alma says she doesn't hear audio. Give me a thumbs up if you still hear me. Okay, Alma, you must have just, well, she can't hear me, so I guess I don't need to tell her. Hopefully she'll call back in. Anybody else have any celebrations they want to share real quick? And that's okay if not. All right, very good.
I have something I want to say. I'm late to the party, but I put it in the chat. I read an article recently about electric cars, kind of off the subject, but not. And the man who was working for Clay Electric, which is a big co-op, electric co-op over in my area of Florida, said when you drive an electric car, basically you are getting 200 miles per gallon. That's roughly the equivalent energy you're using. Plus, you don't have anything coming out of a tailpipe. 200 miles per gallon. Now, people, when you have to justify your electric car to someone, that speaks really powerfully. So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody that wants to know.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Sarah, you missed our celebration of the retreat. So let me just share that slide with you. Sarah is the generous team member who shared her wonderful rental home with us on the Rainbow River. So thanks again, Sarah. It was great.
I should have worn my shirt. I think it might be in the laundry, but thanks again for my shirt.
You're welcome. I made the shirt for Sarah because she has her blog called Adventures of Eco Gal. It's perfect. All right. Well, hey, we're about at the end of our hour. It always goes by too fast, but thank you for being with us today. Next month, your team is on vacation, and we hope that you have some time to get out and enjoy nature as well. And, you know, start thinking about the fall, because our August meeting, we're going to hit the ground running. We're going to talk about season of creation and do a lot of planning. So season of creation is September through the beginning of October. So start thinking about what you might want to do. And I'll include the season of creation link on my next email out, so you can kind of do some research and start thinking about it. But we will not have Eat, Pray, Grow in July. So we will see you guys August 24th. Of course, you can always email us and connect and let us know what you're up to and if there's any way that we can help. And then we close with a prayer by our friend Sarah Flint. So Sarah, please close us.
Okay, please join me in prayer. Creator God, how blessed are we to live under the power of your beautiful Son. We marvel at your creation as we contemplate this amazing ball of fire in the sky. From 94 million miles away, this star lifts our spirits and gives us energy and light and life, helps to grow our food, and even gives us vitamins. For the sun, we are so, so grateful. Yet in true human fashion, we found ways to be greedy even about your cosmic resources. We failed to make the sun's power for clean energy readily available to all people. And we often choose to put sunscreens on our bodies so we can be in the sun at our convenience without regard for the harm of some of those chemicals on your creation. We are so blessed and lucky to know that your love and grace still extends to us as we try to do better. God, please help us to do better. Please help us to discern the best path for each of us to tend your garden and help all your creation, and to learn and grow every day in our ability to follow you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I would encourage everyone to unmute and say goodbye. Have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank
Be
you.
with all of
Andy.
you.
Thank you, Reverend Oliver.
See everyone.
Thank you, Reverend Oliver.
Grateful for you all. And this is being recorded, and I'll email it to the group. A couple people have asked me that. So yes, we will do that. Maybe this is one you share with your pastors or your teams.
Yes,
Let them
yes,
start
please.
thinking
The
about
whole
Definitely.
solar.
thing.
Thank you all so much. It was fun.